15 seconds. 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
In your face, all over the place.
We're online 24/7. 24/7. You're listening to the hottest internet station.
From beautiful Saline in southeastern Michigan.
Around the world at sunsky.mysteries.com.
This is the 2009 Top 10 Webcam in the World winner. This is SETV.
This message is transmitted at the request of the United States Office of Civil Defense. At 3:40 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, NORAD detected a long-range nuclear missile launch in North Korea. This missile is believed to be headed in the direction of the Los Angeles metropolitan area. It is believed that it will impact this area within the next 1.5 to 2 hours. All residents within a 400-mile radius of this area should seek a fallout shelter immediately.
The only real effect I can have is to create the impression that things aren't as bad as they are. To give our people time, the opportunity to survive.
I guess I just never realized I'd gone so far. We'd lost so much control.
Totalitarianism doesn't need armies. It only needs to control a couple of things. The media and the ability to dispense privilege to some and withhold it from others. And of course, a weak and divided people helps.
Liberty is calling, the time has come.
There is only one holistic system of systems. One vast and immane, interwoven, interacting, multivariate, multinational dominion of dollars. Petrodollars, electrodollars, multi-dollars, Reichmarks, rims, rubles, pounds, and shekels. It is the international system of currency which determines the totality of life on this planet.
Wake up, America, the change it has begun. Let freedom ring. Let freedom ring in your heart.
Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our very first live show in the studio in about, I'd say about a week. Over the weekend, as I'm sure you know if you have been to the YouTube Illuminati channel, you know that we have, in fact, done some test broadcasts in the field with our remote broadcasting system. Anywhere we can get a cellular signal, we can broadcast in just about high definition. Anywhere on the internet up to 30 frames per second. We use a laptop. We use a 5-watt cellular amplifier. We use a Verizon cellular USB modem. And we use a self-ground planing dual channel antenna, the same kind that is designed for big rig trucks for them to get a good cellular signal. We take that system, make it portable. We have a little tripod thing that we put the camera, the antenna on, and I don't have it here at hand, but when we're way out, we have a 40-foot tall mast that we put the thing on in order to be able to broadcast. So that's how we do it in the field. We can go anywhere and broadcast at any time, any event. So this is our first in-studio show since last week. Tomorrow night, Wednesday, 11 April 2012, we will have as our special guest James Mapes. He is an actor. He has been in 2 Star Trek movies. He has been in the remake of The Wicker Man, and he is also the author of a book. Let me see if I can get the stuff up here on the screen and see if I can find him. He's here somewhere. Let me see. There he is. There is Mr. James Mapes himself. And here is the book that he wrote. Quantum Leap Thinking, an Owner's Guide to the Mind. And he sent us a request to come on the show, which is just absolutely okie dokie. We don't mind doing that at all. He is, of course, doing some promotion on his book. He is a lecturer. He is an actor. And he has come up with a new paradigm, if you will, of thinking. Critical thinking, perhaps. We'll ask him when he gets on the show. But I thought it would be a good idea to get somebody like this on the show in order to be able to relate his methodology, his way of thinking, in order to, for all of us, to be able to get a grasp on what is happening in our world today. Because you watch TV online and they're telling you one thing, you read the alternative news sources, they're telling you another thing. How do you figure out what's going on? You're bombarded by information. Half of it is false. You have to figure out which is real. You have to figure out what the truth is. And you have to be able to make some type of opinion. And his book is supposed to teach you how to do that. I have a copy of the book. I'm going to be reading it this evening and tomorrow, and we will have him on. Now tonight, I wanted to bring you a couple of news stories. Of course, you know, I had a wonderful vacation. I was on vacation from Thursday all the way up until yesterday. In fact, I'm still on vacation. Everything went fine. We did the remote broadcasting. Everything's cool. And of course, today, I'm working out in the garage, moving some heavy boxes around, and I threw my back out. Perfect. Perfect for going back to work tomorrow. Who'd have thunk it? At any rate, I want to tell you guys about a couple of different stories. This one is from, let's see, this story originally came from Salon, but we found it at sott.net, SOTT.net. If you guys, listen to this, listen, pay attention here just for a second. If you guys want to go to a website that gives you some excellent news, you need to go to sott.net. These guys have got news and information like you would not believe. You know, I do my best to get the best news that I can at our social media site, SeleneETV.com, SeleneETV.com. But these guys, man, these guys have got news. They got it categorized and everything. You guys got to go to sott.net. At any rate, let's go to this story here. This story originally came from Salon. U.S. filmmaker repeatedly detained at the border. And there's a picture of the young lady. You can see the, let me zoom in here so that you can see the website address, which is, hold on just a second. I got a bunch of windows open, which is right there. SOT.net. Go and, let me see here. Okay. One of the more extreme government abuses post 9/11 era targets U.S. citizens re-entering their own country. And you know what? This actually happened to me, and it was way before 9/11. You see, I used to have a Kawasaki Ninja ZX 1100, 1,100 cc's. It was a fast bike. And my ex-wife and I took a vacation up in Canada so we could go camping because we heard the camping was great up in Canada. Not. At any rate, we're coming back over the Ambassador Bridge there in Detroit, and I got treated to 10,000 questions about why I was coming back into my own country. I finally got pissed off, took off my helmet, and said, look, I just had the worst weekend of my entire damn life trying to camp in this godforsaken country, and I want to go back to my own country. Is that such a problem? And they let me go because I was in a blind rage at that point, at which point we just did some nice burnouts and wheelies while we were leaving the border crossing there. At any rate, this lady, Laura Poitras, with no oversight or legal framework whatsoever, the Department of Homeland Security routinely singles out individuals who are suspected of no crimes, detains them and questions them at the airport, often for hours, when they return to the U.S. after an international trip, and then copies and even seizes their electronic devices like laptops, cameras, and cell phones, and other papers, including notebooks, journals, and credit card receipts, forever storing their contents in government files. No search warrant is needed for any of this. You got that? The United States government needs no search warrant to seize your property when you're trying to come back into your very own country. In this age of international travel, where large numbers of citizens, especially those involved in sensitive journalism and activism, frequently travel outside the country, this power renders the protections of the Fourth Amendment illusionary. In other words, when you go out of the country and you, let's say you're going to go to Mexico. You go to Mexico, and on the way back they seize everything that you have. Once you leave the country, you give up your Fourth Amendment rights to unreasonable searches and seizures. Because until you come back, well, you're not back on U.S. soil. And that's how that works. In an let me see here. If the government wants to search and seize the papers and effects of somebody on U.S. soil, it must, with some exceptions, first convince the court that it is probable cause to believe that objects to be searched related to criminal activity, and a search warrant must be obtained. But now, none of those obstacles, ones at the very heart of the design of our Constitution, hinders the U.S. government. Now they can just wait until you leave the country and then, at will, search, seize, and copy all of your electronic files on your return. This includes emails, the websites you've visited, the online conversations you've had, the identities of those with whom you've communicated, your cell phone contacts, your credit card receipts, film you've taken, drafts of documents you're writing, and anything else that you store electronically. There is also another aspect of this. If you are a United States citizen and you are an expatriate living in another country, the Fourth Amendment does not apply to you. They can remotely search your computers and take whatever information they would like at will. This is one of the reasons why we do not use a certain piece of software that used to be independent and then was bought by Microsoft that a lot of people use for online chatting. And of course we have an incoming phone call that we're not going to answer because you know what? We're on the air. Isn't that something? How do they always know when I'm on the air? At any rate, this software, a lot of people use it for chatting. A lot of people use it for video conferencing and for audio conferencing because you can go software to software In other words, if your computer has a software on it and somebody else's computer has a software on it, you can talk back and forth without a problem for free forever. And there are certain aspects of this software that make it a little bit unsafe. We've had 1, 2, 3, 4 guests on the show that have had their computers invaded while they were on the show while using this software. That's why we only use landlines like this right here in order to do our interviews, because that is much safer. They can't break into anything here because we're all encrypted. At any rate, if you are a U.S. citizen and you're an expatriate, my brother, he lives in the Philippines. We have some people that have been associated with the show in the past. They live in another country as well. If they are using that software, or any software, they've given up their Fourth Amendment rights to illegal search and seizure, unusual searches and seizures. And the government can come in and take anything they want off their computer and use it against them. So, let's go back here and read some more of this article. Let me see here. The government abuse has received some recent attention in the context of WikiLeaks. Everybody remembers WikiLeaks. That was on the mass media radar there for a while, and of course it has now disappeared, even though they are still putting out information. Yeah, just out of everybody, out of sight, out of mind sort of a thing. Ignore it and they'll go away, but they haven't gone away. There are portions of the population that are still paying attention to the information that WikiLeaks puts out. Over the past couple of years, any American remotely associated with that group, or even those who have advocated on behalf of Bradley Manning, have been detained at the airport and their laptops, cell phones, and cameras seized, sometimes for months, sometimes forever. But this practice usually targets people having nothing to do with WikiLeaks. In other words, if you go, let's say, to Godlike Productions, or Above Top Secret, a couple of very popular forums, or offgrid.com, offgridlifestyle.com. I'm sorry, I got the name of that website wrong. offgridlifestyle.com. If you go to one of those websites and you post something and you are out of the country and you say, you know what, this thing I got against Bradley Manning, I wish they'd get to it. You know, either do the court martial or let the guy go. Don't let him just keep hanging. Well, when you come back into the country, if you've been out of the country when you do that, they can take all your stuff. A 2011 Freedom of Information request from the ACLU, and, you know, like a lot of other people, I don't like the ACLU because of some of the stuff that they do, but occasionally they get it right. A 2011 Freedom of Information Act request from the ACLU revealed that just in the 18-month period, beginning October 2008, more than 6,600 people, roughly half of whom were American citizens, were subjected to electronic device searches at the border by the Department of Homeland Security, all without a search warrant. So, that is that particular story. I thought, when I get the SOT newsletter that's forwarded to me by a friend of mine, and this story was in it, and I think it's well, it's a bunch of BS if you ask me. It's just they always find. You ever notice the government's always finding loopholes to find ways that they could do something to you instead of the other way around. The Constitution, you see, gives a throttle to the government. That's the way they set it up. Because you got to remember, back then, when those guys came up with this Constitution, they had just gotten done living for, well, a century or so under British rule. They went through almost the exact same things that we're going through right now in the United States. So they developed this Constitution to hold back the government, to prevent the government from doing things, which is why the president, Barack Obama, when he was campaigning, he said it's a document of negative liberties and rights. Negative liberties and rights for the government. That's why they're doing all this extra constitutional sort of stuff that they're doing. Now, there's another story that I wanted to tell you guys about tonight. And this one is absolutely amazing. This is actually a subject that we've had on this show a lot. Let me see where this comes from. This comes from, are you ready? www.viewzone, V-I-E-W, zone.com. And the document you're looking for is browndorf.html. This is one of the best written articles on a subject that we cover on this show, which is right here, Planet X. Now, half of you that are watching this on the Illuminati channel, YouTube, are probably slapping your foreheads going, oh no, not again. And the other half of you that are watching the live stream or listening to the audio portion of the stream are probably slapping your foreheads going, oh no, not again. At any rate, this is written by Gary Vay, and this is an excellent, excellent article. The idea of a new planet being discovered in our solar system is pretty exciting. Even more so because of the many theories about Planet X or Nibiru being associated with space aliens and the doomsday prophecies of 2012. Well, for that particular article, I have to say, sorry, wrong. That's not the theory behind it. The theory behind it, the factual evidence that we have right now, goes to the Bible, the Colburn Bible, the ancient texts of the various different civilizations that were around thousands of years ago. Because every 3,600 years an event happens on this planet, the return of the destroyer, what we now call Planet X or Nibiru. So that first paragraph, I'm just going to, hold on a second, let me go back here to that first paragraph and go like this. Okay, there we go. There, we'll just go ahead and get rid of that first paragraph right there. You can just ignore that one when you go to the article. Scientists at places like NASA and famous observatories, as opposed to the unfamous observatories, have deflected inquiries about the discovery for a few years now. No, many years now. So we're going to go ahead and strike that out right there. Mainly because they feared being associated with these quote-unquote fringe theories. So now we are actually talking about events described in the Bible as fringe theories. Thank you very much. But like it or not, it has happened. Well, according to a team of Spanish astronomers who call themselves the Star Viewer team, I have actually watched some of their videos and read some of their information. The group made the rounds of all the news websites in the past 2 weeks, claiming they discovered something very significant. It's almost twice the size of Jupiter and just beyond our furthest planetoid, Pluto. Although it's not a planet. It appears to have planets or large satellites encircling it. So, let me explain this a little bit more deeply. I'm sure the article goes into it, but we don't have the time to do that. Although it's not a planet, it appears to have planets or satellites encircling it. The object that they're talking about, the Brown Dwarf Star, or G 1.9, is actually not Planet X or Nibiru. It's one of the satellites around this brown dwarf that is known as Planet X. And here is a description right here of what's a brown dwarf. So we're going to ignore that because you can just read about that yourself. The newly discovered brown dwarf is believed to have formed from the same condensed matter that gave birth to our sun. It is believed that after the large planets formed around the sun, they pushed it to the edge of the solar system, where it formed a sphere about 1.9 AU, or MJ. Sorry, that's a different thing. Well, below the mass needed to ignite it as a sun. The theory of a companion sun is not new. It has often been described as Nemesis, after the Greek figure in mythology. The mythological Nemesis was the spirit of divine retribution against those who succumb to hubris, vengeful fate personified as a remorseless goddess. The name Nemesis is related to the Greek word meaning to give what is due. And yet here's another phone call that we are going to ignore. Nemesis is now often used as a term to describe one's worst enemy. Normally, someone or something that is the exact opposite of oneself, but is also somehow similar. I don't know why I read that, but there you go. Oh, look at that. For example, Professor Moriarty is frequently described as a nemesis of Sherlock Holmes. Believe it or not, tomorrow night's guest actually played a character by the name of Moriarty in the, what was it called? It was called The Wicker Man. Many suns that we observe in the galaxy are part of binary systems or double stars. There is a debate about how two suns form from a single condensed cloud of matter. Some believe that they both form at the same time. Others believe they split following the creation of one huge sun. Sometimes both spheres are capable of fusion and both suns shine brightly, encircling each other around an imaginary point called the barycenter. Sometimes only one sun attains 13 MJ and ignites, while its smaller companion, the brown dwarf, glows dimly and radiates heat. Astronomers usually can only see the brightest of the two, but because they circle around a common barycenter, the wobble reveals the mass of the unseen companion. So, here is my next point that I would like to drive home. If the astronomers are seeing the wobble of distant suns, way distant suns, and they can tell that it has a brown dwarf orbiting with it, here is my question that I would like to have answered. Why in the hell can't they do that with our sun? They got like a bazillion satellites out there watching our sun right now. For some reason, why do we need a bazillion satellites? All different spectrums. You can't tell me that they can't observe the wobble of our own sun. And if they tell you, oh, we can't do that because we're so close to it, blah, blah, blah. Well, they got satellites that are mapping Mars, that are looking at the surface of Mars. Why can't they turn one of them there things around and take a look at the sun and see if it has a wobble? That's what I want to know. Or, why can't they just ring up E.T. and ask him? Let's go back to this article. This is a very interesting article. We are close to our sun and within its gravitational influence. So as we travel through space, it appears to us that the G1.9 is moving in an ellipse between our farthest planetoid, Pluto, and the edge of our solar system near the Oort cloud. Here is a diagram of said planetoid. We have had this very similar graphics on before. Let me see here. You can see right, let's see here. We're going to go here and do that. There we go. Oh, hold on. Whoa, oh, nope. Gosh, darn it. Well, for some reason I have lost my, there we go, try that. For some reason, I seem to have lost my ability to use the whiteboard. So, well, hopefully you can see my mouse over here on the right-hand side. You can see the sun, the Earth, Pluto, and the brown dwarf and over on the right-hand screen, you can see the Oort cloud, the Kuiper belt, and the asteroid belt. The asteroid belt, of course, goes between Mars and Saturn, or Jupiter, one of those two big-ass planets out there. At any rate, the Oort cloud at the edge of the solar system is where the brown dwarf resides most of the time, and occasionally comes back towards us. The newly discovered brown dwarf is reported to be located about 60 to 66 astronomical units away from the Sun. 1 astronomical unit, for those of you that are joining us from the planet Pluto or happen to live in Ann Arbor, from the Sun to the Earth. 1 AU is the distance from the Sun to the Earth. This thing is around 60, let's call it 63 astronomical units. In other words, 63 times the distance to the Sun from us. It's perigee. Currently in the direction of the constellation Sagittarius because of the periodic gravitational disturbances in the area of space further out, The Spanish group of astronomers believe G1.9 travels in an elliptical orbit extending possibly hundreds of astronomical units beyond the furthest known planets, its apogee. So, what these guys are saying is that it is a coming on in. The, of course, mythical Planet X, what the serious scientists call the mythical Planet X. Let me see if I can get the website address up here on the screen for you. There we go. There is the website address. www.viewzone.com/browndwarf.html. This is not an HTM page. This is an HTML page. Don't make that mistake when you try to view the article. Again, that is viewzone.com. And for those of you that are actually interested in this, and I can't imagine why anybody would be, you can go to our social media site, Saline ETV, SALINEETV.com, and in the show notes group, we will have links to this article so that everybody can find it and read it at your leisure. Speaking of which, we are going to be switching the show and everything else over to the social media site and use the Sun Sky Mysteries site for strictly news items that people can go and read. So, at any rate, that's about it. This show will, of course, be up on the Illuminati channel over at YouTube. That's Sun Sky Mysteries channel. And we will have Mr. James Mapes on tomorrow night. So, with that said, I am going to take some pain pills because of my sore back and head on off to bed. I'd like to thank everybody for showing up tonight, listening to the show. Those of you on the audio side, you will have the audio stream restarted, and we will have all the recorded shows that we have in our library. We also have, believe it or not, a podcast channel. That would be at SalineTube.com. SalineTube.com. You can download most of the shows there. We're always adding shows, and as I have time, I put new recordings on there. So, thanks for showing up. Tomorrow night, Mr. James Mapes on Wednesday night. This is a special Wednesday interview show. So, until then, we will see everybody later. Thank you for showing up, and this will be up on YouTube shortly. We might even repeat it. Who knows? Okay, have a good night.